Okay, the Sun this morning, you're my special ones. Jose, I love this squad. He rallies shocked stars. Footballers get shocked for about 5 minutes and they're like, oh, how does this affect me? Am I going to make my bonus this weekend? Am I going to get picked? What's going to happen? And Jose Mourinho walks in and there's pictures of him with Harry Kane. Poch's sad note, Mauricio Pochettino was forced to leave a note to say goodbye and thank you to his Spurs squad. That's a bit grim, isn't it? Would you write? I would be like, no, I'll send him a WhatsApp.
I hope there is kind of a fly in the wall documentary crew that was hired by Pochettino immediately after he got sacked, and there is an emotional montage coming of him sitting beside candlelight in his kitchen writing that note before leaving.
Sorry, we cannot come to say goodbye. You are always in our hearts. He wrote it in Pidgin English as well, just to. Many more jobs. Barcelona and Bayern are ready to pounce for Pochettino, but I don't think Barcelona, because the Espanyol connection, I don't know. I mean, surely they can get over that, right? He was like, oh, I can't do that, but actually he can, of course.
Of course he can. I don't think, like, the Real Madrid connection, if there was somebody kind of that bled white and was a real Real Madrid hero, could Barcelona kind of take them on as manager? I think that'd be more of a stretch than somebody from Espanyol. Like, I know it's a huge rivalry, huge local rivalry, but I think they could probably get over that. I'm not sure, did you see Harry Redknapp's comments about Pochettino?
No, what?
The possibility of Pochettino going to Arsenal.
Oh, yeah.
He said, he was speaking on Talksport, he was like, there are clubs in London who are having a terrible time. Why wouldn't he go to Arsenal if he wants to? You think the Arsenal fans wouldn't love him there? If you go in there and start winning football matches, they would have taken Saddam Hussein in there when he was about. The fans don't give a monkeys. If you start winning every week, they're singing, there's only one Saddam. Harry Redknapp. They're like, it's not beyond the bounds of possibility for Arsenal fans to have done something like that. There is only one Mauricio Pochettino. I like, if we're going to start a petition for a pink snack, we need to start a petition for Mauricio Pochettino to be installed immediately as Arsenal.
I mean, you're an Arsenal fan, so you would love that, right? But like, all Arsenal fans would love it. I mean, what would Arsenal Fan TV actually say? I mean, that would be immediately gifable.
It would be, but like their figures would nosedive. The Jose to Arsenal thing would have been the Arsenal Fan TV dream that people would have deserved. The Mauricio Pochettino thing could actually work too well, where Arsenal Fan TV just doesn't become a factor in people's everyday lives anymore, which some people may see as a good thing. I would see as a bad thing. But Mauricio Pochettino, he's like the best manager available in world football at the moment. And like, there was a good point made in a couple of the papers this morning that the stumbling block to getting Pochettino from the other massive clubs around the world has been the fact that Daniel Levy would want you to pay like 12 to 15 million to actually get him. Now he's for free.
Yes.
Of course, except for his wages.
Yes.
But still, he was on £7.5 million a year. Give him 10 million quid a year. He'll manage your football club, assuming it's
if
good.
If Man United don't do this, they will regret it forever, I think. It's like when Klopp was like finally available, they already had a manager and they were like, oh, we don't really need, it's not the right thing to do. And Arsenal wouldn't get rid of Wenger at the same time. Arsenal will always regret not getting Jurgen Klopp because he would have completely changed that club. They would now be the champions of Europe. They would now be the ones who are riding high in the league because he has that power and that force of personality. And Manchester United would be an unstoppable force if they had plugged Jurgen Klopp's energy into it. Instead, they've had patsy after patsy after patsy. Now, it's possible that eventually Ole Gunnar Solskjaer might be a good manager, but Mauricio Pochettino is right now a good manager, and that's exactly what that team needs.
Ed Woodward should probably learn from Daniel Levy here in terms of, okay, now this has been nowhere near to the point where we can start saying this is a good decision, because it could end up being a disaster immediately. But I think Woodward can look at Levy and say that's how somebody should act in terms of how decisive they should be. Like that is swift action. He knew exactly what he wanted and he went out and did it. What do I want? Ed Woodward needs to find out what he wants.
Look, exactly. So Daniel Levy knew exactly what he wanted, and whether or not it's the right thing, at least he's been decisive. He might have made a decisive, stupid decision, and that's what Manchester United should do. Is it?
What incisive decisions have they made?
What's the point in being bold and brave?
They dilly-dallied over Solskjaer for quite some time before giving him the full-time job. Like, giving a manager a caretaker role is always seen as a bit of dilly-dallying, especially when they last as long in the caretaker role. Like, what was Ed Woodward doing before Solskjaer became permanent manager is what I want to know.
Trying to get Pochettino.
And that's it. Like,
there was a suggestion that like the Pochettino deal had been sorted out in the background and that they just needed to get to the summer, and then all of a sudden Solskjaer wins those 5-6 games, has the night in Paris, and and that was it.
Yeah, I like
that broke Pochettino deal.
But that was the Pochettino deal. The only thing he was okay. So the thing was that after those 5 games, when you put Solskjaer right up there in terms of the great, I guess, candidates for that Manchester United job. So you
don't though.
But you did at the time. Let's not forget how high they were riding at the time. That night in Paris was amazing for
it was like
Manchester United.
It was just an orgy of Man United onanism from.
But it was still good.
It was
still good.
It was a last-minute penalty they didn't deserve.
In hindsight, at the time, yes.
If you didn't have somebody in the BT studio and the post-match interview being done by Gary Neville, that immediately everybody watches. So if you didn't have a Manchester United WhatsApp group on TV at the time of that match, you gotta give him that job. Ferdinand says, it was the second time we've seen two men have sex on TV in the immortal words of Dunphy. I'm sorry, but if somebody had stood back and said, let's wait and see what happens, they didn't need to give him the job.
There are a lot of lucky things that happened to English clubs in the Champions League. Manchester United were not the only club who got a little bit lucky last year. I don't think that the fact that it was an undeserved penalty meant that Ed Woodward should have been scratching his head a little bit more. Maybe you're right that he should have actually taken a step back. My point is that before he went on this win streak, before he sacked Jose Mourinho, Ed Woodward should have had some sort of clarity of thought as to what I'm actually doing.
Yes.
Daniel Levy clearly signed Jose Mourinho before sacking Maurizio Pochettino.
Absolutely.
Ed Woodward should have been in touch with Tottenham Hotspur before sacking Jose Mourinho about Maurizio Pochettino's availability. Then, if Tottenham were like, you're not going to get him unless you stump up this amount of money, then he should have waited a little while. I don't know. I just think that...
You're saying he shouldn't have been decisive?
No, I think that he should have had... What it screams to me is that he didn't have a backup plan. Maybe Pochettino was his one idea, and that had to happen, or else it was a caretaker manager until the summer. And a caretaker manager until the summer is just a tricky thing, because he either makes the club worse or he makes the club better, and then there's pressure on you to make him a permanent manager. That pressure was something that Woodward succumbed to, because clearly he'd been taking huge abuse all throughout the season, and finally he'd stumbled upon this brilliant thing. What a great risk. A club legend he brought back to Manchester, and now he's qualified for the next round of the Champions League against one of the richest clubs in the world. Fantastic. Woodward got carried away, appointed Solskjaer.
Yes.
And
it's a bad idea.
It was a bad idea.
Don't get...
In hindsight, hindsight is helping us form this opinion. After Paris, you're like, fair enough. Okay, I can see why he's done it. And a lot of people, I think, in fairness, the majority of the people were like, okay, good decision.
No.
I probably got carried away a little bit by Solskjaer at the time.
No,
but prior to that run, is when he should have been decisive.
Those people were like, this is too quick. What's the rush?
It kind of actually felt...
Solskjaer's not going anywhere. He's not going back to Molde. Don't be ridiculous. He's now part of the Man United furniture. He would have been happy with a director of football job. He would have been happy with being Nicky Butt's boss. That would the sum total of his ambition was to be able to lord it in that WhatsApp group.
Could he have done a Nick McCarthy, Stephen Kenny job on it? Sign Maurizio Pochettino there and then, and Maurizio Pochettino announces there that he is leaving at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean,
and Solskjaer announces as well he's leaving as Manchester United boss at the end of the season.
I mean, look, why would Manchester United not be taking tips from John Delaney on how to run their club? I agree with you. It would have been, what's that line about genius steals, greatness borrows, genius steals? Is that it?
I've never looked into quotes about genius, to be quite honest with you. The Irish Times sports section there, the front page, I should say, of the Irish Times this morning leads with some Joe Schmidt extracts as well. I'll just get the headline for you. It is, Schmidt tried to halt World Cup match with Samoa over pitch, basically on the front page of the Irish Times this morning. It's Jerry Thornley, and then the rest of the extracts are carried in the sports section. Toner omission among the difficult calls Schmidt reveals in new book, The Fraught and Difficult Road to Ireland's Grand Slam and the Card from Beyond the Grave from the late mother. So on Devon Toner and why he left him out, there was obviously a potential sighting incident coming Devon Toner's way, and Schmidt says in his new book, which is out today actually, that was a huge contributing factor in why he left Toner out. He says, we hadn't noticed the incident at the time. This is, of course, in the 22-17 win over Wales in pre-season. We'd been warned by Alain Roland in his presentation to us that any shoulder-to-head contact was likely to have a starting entry point of a 6-week suspension. It was a difficult call. but we decided to go with Tyg Byrne, who can play both second row and back row, and Jean Klein, the only specialist tight head scrummaging second row in the squad. So that's his explanation of that. I hadn't heard that mentioned before.
What was the sighting in the end?
The sighting in the end was nothing, actually, wasn't it?
Right.
Didn't he get away with it in Thunder?
Yeah,
he was playing Pro 14 at the start of the season.
Yeah.
So he would have got away with it in the end. So
Could they not have found that out? Could they not have made a few phone calls?
yeah, potentially. He talks then. There's a bit of a Saipan feel to a bit of this as well. He says it's the state of the training pitch at their first session in Japan, which contributed to Rob Kearney straining his calf and Robbie Henshaw damaging his hamstring, to the pitch for the Samoan game, which he sought to have referee Nick Berry prematurely end his game. I hadn't heard this, that there was a pitch, it was the state of the pitch that they're blaming for those injuries for Kearney and Henshaw, and them being out of the picture for the early part of the World Cup, and obviously coming in perhaps a little bit rusty for the business end of Ireland's World Cup this year. Interesting, so this is obviously, there's not exactly full extracts here, but Thornley kind of paraphrases it. He says in this paragraph, he hardly slept after the Japan defeat due to the knot in my stomach, that is a quote. Even so, Schmidt's review is disappointingly slight, beyond admitting that Ireland had lacked the same tempo and energy as Japan in the second half. Several questions remain unanswered. Could Ireland have played Johnny Sexton? Should Schmidt have referenced referee Angus Gardner 2 days before the game? So Jerry's obviously read the book and feels that there isn't enough of an illumination on why Ireland actually failed to meet their own expectations in that Japan game. And Schmidt does admit that he was disappointed with himself for mentioning the feedback from World Rugby. So it goes on, he says that they didn't prioritise this year's Six Nations, which he felt was a mistake. He felt that their level of performance slipped as they started to look too far ahead. And he says that there's a danger of becoming too focused on delivering one-off performances at the end of 4-year cycles. So that seems to be the thrust of his thoughts on the Rugby World Cup. There's a couple of nice bits in here as well. Obviously, his mother passed away before the World Cup started, so the first six chapters of the book were written as a joint collaboration with Schmidt and his mother. So even after she passed away, he was handed a card the day before the quarter-final. So he says, on Saturday, October 19th, the day before the quarter-final, Schmidt recalls his son Tim arriving at the team hotel with his mate Robbie to pick up his ticket. He had a card for me from my mom, which was a message she wrote when she realised she wasn't going to live long enough to see the World Cup. I walked away from him to read the card because I knew I was going to well up. She wrote that she was so proud of what you've achieved, but even more proud of what you've become. I had to take a few minutes, then wandered back to the two lads, and we passed a bit of time before I was due to meet the coaches to discuss the last few messages, which is kind of a nice moment. And then the last part of the extracts then carried this morning is about the Grand Slam year. And of course, Grand Slam year was kind of tinted with the context of the trial in Belfast, obviously. So he says that Rory Best not only wanted to stand down from the captaincy around this, but even considered retiring altogether as well. So this is regarding Ian Henderson and Rory Best obviously showing up at court during, was that before the first game in the Six Nations, before the second game in the Six Nations, whatever. Anyway, he says none of the management were aware that 2 players were going to attend, and the outrage that followed was difficult for everyone in the group. It was uncomfortable for all of us, Schmidt adds, but it particularly magnified the stress that Rory was under, and he considered relinquishing the captaincy. That much had already become known, but Schmidt also reveals he even thought about walking away from the game completely. Such was the fallout for his family and those around him. And then really there's just a couple of other things around the Grand Slam. Not happy with Matt Williams. Says punditry sometimes seems to be more art than science. Says Simon Easterby had 3 pages of line-out notes on the Grand Slam decider against England. They all flew away in the wind towards the English coaching ticket, and he managed to retrieve 2 of them, and one was lost in the wind forever, and who knows where it may have ended up. And then there was this is the last point that I picked up, kind of a small thing. He says, the day before the game at Twickenham when they won the Grand Slam, he was informed the day before that the RFU had bizarrely extended the in-goal area. So they also were told that given the Baltic conditions on match day, the pitch lines would be painted blue in case of further snow. En route to the ground, they were then informed that there would be white dashes on those blue lines, as the referee Angus Gardner was blue/green colourblind.
Oh, great.
There you go.
Angus Gardner's blue/green colourblind.
Never heard of anything like that.
And what happens? Oh, he's obviously Scottish, so he can't referee Ireland-Scotland. What if he's in Ireland-Italy?
Or Ireland-France.
I mean, a good point. We should just always wear our white jerseys. Sorry, I missed this. I did the Sun, right? There was a couple of other ones I want to do. Maury Poppins. Do you get it? Do you get it? Maury Poppins? Because he's Mourinho, and it's Mary Poppins is what they're going for, and it's a spoonful of sugar. He's going to be nice. He's going to be nice, Jose, as opposed to bollocks, Jose, which everybody's a bit more used to. There's a good headline here from The Sun, which we didn't know about. Amazon Prime. Amma not happy. Pochettino Spurs exit sparked after Amazon Prime installed 80 grand cameras for documentary in his office. Amazon Prime are indeed making a documentary about Spurs at the moment. Tottenham Chiefs left Pochettino furious when installing Amazon documentary cameras in his office, days after refusing his request to buy some for training purposes. This is madness. The All or Nothing flick was announced earlier on in the season and will now switch its focus from sacked coach Pochettino to Jose Mourinho. And then this is from the Guardian. Mourinho for Pochettino, are Spurs run by Amazon's documentary makers? Max Russian asking that question in the Guardian today. So Amazon definitely winning big. Bit of drama there, but then is it that dramatic when you see it on a documentary and you're like, I know what happens here?
Because he's so easy to read. He pretty much reveals everything. If we saw a documentary of the Manchester United dressing room, it'd just be the drama we already know. But kind of actually the players' faces as Jose is kind of slating them. So I don't know. I would still 100% watch it. I would queue up around the block to watch that if it came to a cinema near me. But thankfully, it's going to be online.
Which?
The brand new Tottenham documentary.
Would you, yeah? Just to see that?
100%.
But like, you know what happens? He gets sacked. Mourinho comes in. How do they make that dramatic?
It's all about the journey,
I mean,
not about the destination.
I mean, okay, all right. That's a bit new age bollocks, but anyway, go on. Mourinho tells Levy Kane cannot leave Tottenham. So Mourinho's already laying down the law. I mean, I'm sure Daniel Levy doesn't want him to leave either. But there's rumours already of some weird swap with Real Madrid that, like, frankly, maybe, look, I don't know, maybe cashing in on Harry Kane is exactly the type of thing that Spurs should do if they want to hit the refresh button. And then the other story on the back page of the Independent this morning, Oireachtas committee seeking urgent response to queries on FAI. We had the story last night on offtheball.com as well. The Oireachtas Joint Committee for Tourism, Transport and Sport has once again written to the Sport Ireland Chief Executive, John Tracy, to the Minister for Sport, Shane Ross, and to the FAI saying, here, listen, what the hell is the story with your various inquiries, lads? Get the finger out. We've been patiently waiting for you to come back now before Christmas and answer the questions that we have. So they're not going away. It's all still a bit of a mess at the FAI because their interim Director General, or whatever title Noel Mooney has, finishes up next week or this week, and they have an new interim CEO ready to go, who is the CEO or former CEO of Athletics Ireland. His name is John Foley, according to Dan in the papers today. This has been rumoured, but I think that's the first time I've seen it in print. And he's going to take over on an interim basis because he can't be appointed full-time because obviously there's no board, because they haven't appointed the 4 independent executive directors to the board. They can't appoint the 4 independent executive directors to the board until they've got all these reports in, and the reports aren't coming anytime soon, it appears. So we're in this mad impasse that, like, when you think back to it, the first time a Delaney story broke was the night of the Gibraltar game away, which was the first game in the qualifying campaign. The qualifying campaign is over and this whole situation is not resolved. So the FAI board not doing what they're supposed to be doing in anything like the pace they're supposed to be doing it.
That story is on the back page of the Herald this morning as well. Call for response on FAI. A boost for Troy is their lead, though. Mourinho vows to give youth a chance as Spurs' reign begins. This is his first interview, an in-house interview. He says a thing he's supposed to say, which is that the academy is good, other clubs run their academies in a bad way, or so he was suggesting. Whether or not it's a boost for Troy Parrott, I think that very much remains to be seen. Pressure was on Jim to stay. That's Mick Bowen saying Cluxton would have gone too. He says the same thing as well when I was in conversation with him. He is coming up after 8 o'clock this morning. It's just gone 8 o'clock, I should say. On that Sun headline, the Maury Poppins, that was basically a mechanism to get in a spoonful of sugar, wasn't it? This is like, everybody's trying to stir the pot. Is this like the Alan Sugar era all over again in terms of a disastrous? Because, of course, the Arsenal fans used to famously saying a spoonful of sugar helps the Spurs go down when they were
okay, right.
Kind of teetering very close to the brink.
I didn't realise that, sorry, yeah. I don't know, maybe it is. So there's history to that. I just thought it was tabloid headline writers. Anyway, the Star, the back page, no Harry, no Jose. Jose Mourinho only agreed to become the new Spurs boss after Daniel Levy promised Harry Kane would not be sold until June 2021 at the earliest. The clock is ticking. You've got 18 months left of Harry Kane, goodness, Spurs.
Calling it now, June 2021 is going to be the worst month in Spurs fans' lives because at that point, the whole Jose Mourinho thing would have gone to shit. Harry Kane is out of contract. A lot of other players will have got fed up by Jose Mourinho at that point, and they'll have this big, brand spanking new stadium, and I don't know, Carlo Ancelotti will be made manager or something.
The Gareth Bale getting out of Real Madrid story takes another leap forward. Bale makes Madrid mad. How did he make Madrid mad? He said he gets more excited playing for his country than his club. That was it. That was enough to piss everybody off. I get more excited playing for my country than my club.
The Marca front page this morning is extraordinary. Have a look at this. So the translation is disrespectful, wrong, ungrateful, in that order. Which, of course, with his Wales Golf Madrid in that order banner. I think there was a Joe Allen banner as well in the stands that said Wales, Chickens, Stoke in that order around Joe Allen as well. So it's just become a meme at this point. And Gareth Bale, I really like Gareth Bale. I really like the fact that he's always just kind of grinning from ear to ear in the middle of a complete and utter disaster sometimes. And it's not a disaster because he's really rich and he plays for a successful international team, he plays for a successful club, so I don't know what's the disaster about it, but there's always some sort of drama around it. They clearly hate him in Madrid, and he's just grinning, playing his golf, doesn't really care what you think if you happen to be of a Real Madrid persuasion. He could easily uproot and join Barcelona in the morning, and he wouldn't give a damn.
No.
If somebody could throw a pig's head at him, he wouldn't give a damn, he'd smile. He'd be totally fine with it.
He'd do keep you uppies with it. The Daily Mail, their back page headline, Kane must stay. It's the same thing, same story that everybody seems to have. And Jones, Ireland were seduced into awful year. So this is good. We do love to hate Eddie Jones, but he says Ireland won 18 out of the last 19 tests, including a series win in Australia. But ever since they'd beaten us at Twickenham, we'd study them closely, because that's your job.
Because they got a sheet from Simon Easterby.
With each game they won, they were kicking less. They were being seduced into playing more attractive rugby. The easiest teams to defend against are the sides that kick less, because then you don't have to worry about the backfield. He also revealed he had a frosty relationship with Schmidt in his early days as England head coach, before the relationship thawed this year. Just at the time when you needed to be knifing them.
Did this all happen?
They're all basically accusing Joe Schmidt of going soft, which doesn't make any sense, because that didn't happen.
Well, I'm not sure is it that, or is it a sense that it thought because Eddie Jones had just beaten Joe Schmidt and was then very warm and bubbly himself.
Yeah.
Maybe
Probably.
Joe Schmidt's actually kind of receptive to that and is actually an okay loser, but I don't know. Irish Examiner is suited. Jose working with these players is what has attracted me. And booted. Pochettino. Have Spurs swapped a manager for a brand partnership? Asks Tommy Martin.
Kane must stay is the headline in the Telegraph, and that's the same story that everybody had, and they've got a 6-page special on that if you want that.
The Guardian is Spurs laid on the line. Mourinho told to work on a shoestring budget this season.
The Racing Post, surname prime for Altior clash, says Harry Cobden. And here's another thriller. 2018 Cheltenham winners Footpad and Balco de Flo square up at Thurles today. That's a 4-horse race, I think. And making Spurs special, punters put their faith in Mourinho to deliver a trophy. So people are backing Jose Mourinho to win a trophy. Will it be any trophy? Will it be a trophy of value? Will it be a goblet of minor prestige?
Back page of the Mirror is, you must be kidding, Jose. Big spending Mourinho blasts Chelsea and United for not bringing on young players, despite splashing out over £900 million at his old clubs.
Lies, damn lies and statistics. And the last story, one I've got for you, is the Irish News this morning. And it's Hart puts faith in youth to step up for Tyrone. So Mickey Hart back for one more turn. And who knows when he's ever going to stop. And then Bandsiders snap up Antrim star Fitzpatrick. So I haven't read the small print on that, but it looks like a bit of a transfer going on.
Which county is beside the ban is what you're asking yourself. But it is the River Ban. He's certainly in Ulster, so he shall be plying his trade in the Ulster Football Championship this season. It also happens to be the longest river in Northern Ireland, so probably flows through a number of counties.
Maybe somebody could read the back page of the Irish News for us there and help us out.
Oh, there's a River Ban in County Wexford.
Anytime now. No, it's not Coleraine. He's not moving to Coleraine unless he's changing clubs. Anyway, we'll come back to that and our bad geography. Did you even do geography for the Limensart?
But there's no sort of, I didn't know, but I don't think that's really, geography is kind of more about mountains and physical geography rather than political geography, so I'm disappointed with myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we walked ourselves into that one. Marcus Goya says, Sell Christian Eriksen, bring in Fellaini. I wouldn't put it past him. Apparently, Jose Mourinho wants to sign Nemanja Matic. It's not a joke.
Did you hear Phil yesterday morning?
No.
And Ibrahimovic.
Well, I mean,
Ibrahimovic is like a real thing.
Ibrahimovic is free, right? So it's not the worst idea of all time.
Fair enough.
Except it would completely upset the balance and style of play that the team currently has, which seems to work quite well from an attacking perspective. Son's going well. Even when you use him, Moore's going well. Harry Kane's not bad. Why would you add in a big lanky beanpole who you want to punt the ball forward to?
It would be, yeah, like it would be very,
Especially
very Jose.
he's now like completely immobile because he's 60.
It's true. He does tend to, like, would he like a partnership involving Ibra and Kane is the thing, or would he rather a Kane and Moore sort of job? I think a Kane and Moore job up front is something that Jose could work with. Like, obviously the Matic thing makes no sense whatsoever because it's Nemanja Matic, but then it makes perfect sense because it's Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, look, and here, look, maybe he's better than Eric Dyer and whoever else that they want to put Wanyama or at the base of that midfield. I don't know who he's going to look at and go, yeah, you're my guy to be my stopper in midfield.
It's going to be, but it's Eric Dyer is put in stone in that position right now unless there's a signing made. So, as Phil was saying yesterday, you can expect to see a lot of him in that position.